Hi everyone, welcome back to the Art of the Bash. Today I'm actually going to be answering some questions that you guys have had. As you know, right now we're doing the 21-day wedding series of the Art of the Bash on Instagram, and every day we're going over a different wedding topic and showcasing some different tricks and tips and what have you, some advice on what you should do within that category, and showing anywhere between 3 to 4 different pictures of examples. And that's happening on Instagram. Again, our Instagram is at the Art of the Bash. However, you guys have been sending me through your comments and through email and through the blog itself, which is artofthebash.com. You have been sending us some questions on these topics. So I've decided that I'm going to do a 3-part process. The first part is going to be on this first week, basically. So this started on the 10th of January, which is 1 week ago today. So within those particular categories that we had each day, there was 4 questions that came back that I wanted to go ahead and answer for you. So just so that you know, the topics we went over were cakes, inside event design, invites, the bride, fully from top to bottom look and everything necessary, photography, uniqueness, anything basically that is unique to a wedding or an event, bridesmaids, and ceremony. So the first question that I got, and I'm going to go in the order of those categories, the first question that I got was actually on cakes, and again, cakes for day 1. And the question was, should I buy a cake for the same number of guests I have? Well, that is 100% up to you. There's 2 ways you can go about it. Some venues that you have a package, the package already includes your wedding cake. If the package already includes your wedding cake, then regardless, if you have 200 guests, they are basically paying for 200 slices because it is part of the per person price that you're already paying. So with that being said, you don't have to worry about exchanging the quantity of guests. However, keep in mind that a lot of the venues, the packages that they include are not necessarily all-inclusive. And what does that mean? There's going to be a package book when you go to the cake company, and they're going to show that to you, and you're going to be able to pick through cake A through Z. However, sometimes the pastillage flowers on them are not included, or the monogram, or it's included in buttercream but not fondant. So make sure you ask those questions, and what you can do in that case is you can reduce your guest count and you can negotiate it this way. So again, if you have 200 guests, you can get a cake for 150 guests. And then with that different quantity or amount of that other 50 people, you can put that towards some upgrades. Again, that could be flavors, that could be being fondant versus buttercream, it could be the flowers or the decor, etc., etc. Now, if you do not have a cake included in your venue, or you have a venue in which you're getting everything separately, then by all means, I highly recommend to not get the same cake quantity as guest quantity. Why? Many people do not eat cake. I'm one of them. After 21 years of doing weddings, I think I'm over cake, and personally, as yummy as it is, I don't really enjoy it so much anymore. So I probably wouldn't eat the cake if I was at your event. You're really going to have more of the older guests that are sitting down and enjoying seeing the scenery, so to speak, and people dancing and what have you. They're definitely going to make sure that they have their slice of cake and their coffee, but a lot of your guests that are dancing and having fun and drinking and what have you are not going to stop being on the dance floor or enjoying themselves to go back to the table to eat cake. So usually you can go with, again, if you had 200 guests, I would recommend a cake for 150. Keep in mind, however, certain cakes need to have certain amount of slices to be able to get to that tier. Therefore, if you have a 2-tier, 3-tier, 5-tier, 12-tier, whatever the case may be, the cake company will tell you what is the minimum amount of slices or people that you need to have as part of your cake in order to achieve that. You can also always get a fake cake, which companies do that all the time. And then they provide a sheet cake in the back for cutting and for serving to your guests. But the beautiful, decorated, very large, glamorous cake that's in the front is actually a faux cake covered in the fondant and the decor. So again, just speak to your vendor, talk to your cake company, take them the pictures if there is something in particular that you love, like maybe from Pinterest, and talk to them and they'll give you some ideas of what you can do. But be smart about negotiating it, because you definitely can, and you definitely can get for less guests than you really have at your wedding. Okay, next question was about invites. The question is, what stationery do I need, and does it need to match? Okay, well, what stationery do you need? You need your invitation, absolutely. I am a big believer in having menu cards to be able to really complete the place setting. However, that is up to you. You don't need to have it, but I would say definitely you need your invitation. If your wedding ceremony and location are all in one, then you can get away with just the one invite that has that information, because it's one venue that they're going to. If there is a separate ceremony location versus venue then later for the reception, then you will have on your main invitation, it would be the church or the temple or what have you, wherever the ceremony would be, and then it would follow with a reception card that would give the information of where the reception would be immediately following or however long after the fact. Of course, you need the RSVP card as well. That's probably the most important part of it all, because you want to make sure how many people are going to your wedding, because this is how everything happens in your budget and your wedding. Everything is per head. Everything is per head. Centerpieces are per table. You have a certain amount of people per table. The venues are going to charge you per head, and the cake is per head, and so on. So make sure that you get your RSVPs and that you send those out and get them back in a timely fashion, so that you can give that information and really budget yourself accordingly. Besides that, yes, there's a million and one things that you could have additional, your programs for your ceremony, your place cards, your escort cards to tell people where to sit down, menu cards to put on your charger plate to really finalize your place setting, save the dates. Save the dates are very important to send out to out-of-towners, not necessarily to everyone you're inviting to the wedding, but just your out-of-towners, to give them sufficient time to make accommodation reservations. So those are the different things. If you are going to do all these different types of stationery or any portion of them, please make sure they match. They follow the same theme, and they kind of give that vision to your guests ahead of time of what they can expect at your wedding and really throughout the entire time. Third question is on photography. So that question is, should I have photo and video, and are there more important shots? Yes. Okay. I get this question a lot, actually. I personally like photography and videography for different reasons. Photography really captures the emotion. It captures that memory. It captures that moment in time. And that's very important. You can have that capture of emotion forever. Every time you look at it, it can invoke that same feeling, and you feel like you're back in that moment in time. I personally love photographers that are more candid, a little bit more photojournalistic, because they are not stopping you every 5 minutes saying, okay, pose, okay, smile, okay, now go here, okay, now go there, okay, now. No, they're letting you live out the event and this special big day that you've been planning for months and months and months. They actually are allowing you to enjoy it, and they're capturing the moments. And I personally think that the pictures that are captured this way are definitely more beautiful and more emotional than those that are posed, because you're just never going to get that same feeling. So I'm a big fan of photojournalistic and candid photographers. Videography really just, it lets you kind of relive the moment, which is nice. I personally am very thankful that I had a videographer at my wedding 16 years ago, because I can now see, and this sounds a little morbid, but now I can see my grandmother, that was an extremely special person to me. I can see her over and over and experience that day through her eyes, and in which I don't have her with me here anymore. So it's really nice to be able to live through that day. And now videography is more cinematography. It's like seeing a movie. The fact, since it became DVD and what have you, and it has chapters, you can literally go to the moments in particular that you want to see and just relive it. And I think it's really spectacular. If your budget allows, I highly recommend that you have both. If you have to pick one or the other and you can't have both, then photography. Photography is a must. You absolutely must have photography. And even though I do recommend candid photojournalistic type shots, there are some shots that you do need to always have. And obviously those are the shots of, you know, the parents, the bridesmaids, the groomsmen, you know, those pictures that usually happen right after the ceremony, that there's a small period of time there that is posed, that stays at the ceremony spot before you move over to the venue, or if it's in the same location, you're doing these pictures while the cocktail hour is happening. Those pictures are the pictures you need to make sure you have. Especially if there's anybody that's really close to you, you want to make sure that you take those pictures with them, because again, life is life and you never know what's going to happen tomorrow, and you always have that picture as a memory. And last but not least, speaking of ceremonies that we just talked about, the last question is about ceremonies. So the question is, we will have a blended family and want to incorporate everyone. How do I do that? That is a great question. And nowadays there are a lot of weddings that are incorporated blended families. There's a lot of really beautiful, different, unique ceremonies, actually is the best way to put it, ceremonies within ceremonies that take place, that have been taking place for years, but many times have only been taking place for the bride and groom and how to bring them together. But now you're trying to bring in together not just the bride and groom, but you're bringing in a family, and making them one big unity. So if you're doing a unity candle, if you're doing the I lost my train of thought. If you're doing the sand ceremony, if you're doing the rope, you know, the tri-rope, what have you. These are things that you can definitely do, incorporating the blended family and bringing them in together. So unity candle, instead of having just the 2 taper candles and the big candle in the center, which is the unity, you would have however many candles there is, depending on how, of course, bride and groom, her family, his family being brought together, and have them each have their moment and bring that in together. Same thing with the sand ceremony. Go with various colors that go, of course, with your color scheme, and incorporate that. And that is a memory and something that you can display in your house from that moment forward, that you can look at and brings your family together. I've had grooms that have actually made little rings for the girls or the boys and have put it on them, and the same way that they're doing to the bride, and basically that's kind of like, again, their symbol of their unity. I had someone else that specially made a bracelet with their family crest, and that family crest is their new family together, and therefore they were all wear the bracelet all the time. The rope, the Trinity rope, very religious, very beautiful meaning. You can do the rope, you know, one being for that family you're bringing in, and then the bride and the groom, and of course God just incorporates all 3, if that is, you know, of which you believe, and you can do that. But definitely I would say, do something that makes sense for your family and for your location doing your ceremony. Like a sand ceremony, for example, makes sense at a beach ceremony, maybe not so much at a religious ceremony, but those types of things. And definitely incorporate them, work with the theme, and bringing everything together. It's all about those details and the unity and bringing everything together at once. Well, thank you. Thank you for these 4 questions. I think they're great questions and a great beginning. Make sure to tune in again next Wednesday. That will be the 25th for the next 4 topics that we're going to go over. And make sure that you're going on Instagram every single day and that you are looking at these particular different topics, and feel free to send me your questions, and maybe your question is the one I'm going to answer in our next video. Thank you so much again, and you have an amazing journey through the art of the bash. Have a good one.